Well, this is your insights, and I'm meteorologist Danielle Noyes. We're going to take a detailed look at the weather through the upcoming weekend across New England and other portions of the country, too. If you're looking for tonight into tomorrow's forecast, I covered that in Noyes' notes, 1 degree outside today, the timing, the accumulation map, so you can check that out. In the meantime, gusts 35 to 45 miles per hour on Friday. It'll be a quieter end to the week precipitation-wise, just a little bit on the blustery side. Weekend storm will feature a little bit of everything. Snow, some mix, some rain, depending on where you are. We're going to break down a period of interior icing and take a close look at that. Blustery and cold early next week with an active storm track that continues. Some storminess likely, or at least chances of it, for the middle and end of next week and next weekend potentially as well. Storm center today is moving through the Tennessee River Valley. Snow on the northwest side, rain to the south, and a threat for severe weather during the day today. The areas in orange, that highest risk of scattered storms, some isolated tornadoes too in portions of south central Alabama, Mississippi, and far eastern portions of Louisiana. The yellow area does extend just south and west of Atlanta too. So there'll be some severe storms there, damaging wind gusts, hail, a potential, and localized flash flooding. That is the same system that sweeps through us tonight into tomorrow. High pressure building in behind it, and another storm coming into the west coast. A lot of rain and snow with this one, and the rain is going to amount to 1 to 3 inches with some locally higher totals from San Francisco and then back down to LA as well. There will be mudslide concerns, localized flooding concerns, and burn scar debris flows for the areas that were hit by the devastating wildfires through the end of the week. In the meantime, snow across the country will amount from Kansas and Nebraska stretching into eastern Michigan, where they'll see the highest totals over the next couple of days. Far northern Maine, too, in Aroostook County sees over a foot. Saw that in the accumulation map I showed earlier today. And then the West Coast, it's impressive. 5 to 6 feet of snow above about 7,000 feet here in the Sierra Nevadas over the next couple of days, up into the Cascades where it's more like 2 to 4 feet. And then even the remainder of the Intermountain West stretching into the Rockies sees an additional 1 to 2 feet with elevation that falls through the middle and end of the week. That same storm system and that energy will move east and be ours for this weekend. So Friday, it's about the gusty wind. Saturday, we start quiet, although you'll notice there'll be snow knocking on our doorstep. Saturday morning. Watch what happens as they place things through it. It actually kind of retracts. There'll be enough dry air in place that a lot of the leading edge may not make it down to the ground until we get to the afternoon to evening. So let's say a late afternoon to evening, arrival time 3 to 6 p.m. right now. Of course, we're several days out, so we'll have a little bit of wiggle room there and keep you posted on the timing. And it's cold enough that it is a burst of light snow that comes in for Saturday evening into the first part of the overnight as this wave of low pressure develops. The warm front will be lifting northward Saturday night into Sunday. So notice here comes that mix and a changeover during the course of the overnight into Sunday morning. That warm front positioned right over central New England. But do you notice a little bit of pink that's lingering here? We're going to talk about that in a second. It's heavy rain, too, that falls in southern New England, heavy snow on the north side of this system, and some mixing that takes place in between as the storm tracks come right over central New England in terms of the area of low pressure. So Sunday is just a mess kind of all around with colder air on the backside of the system that may cause a brief flip over in the backside with some snow showers and upslope snow to start next week. But it's all about the wind and the cold air that comes in behind that system. So Matt yesterday showed you the probability of 1 inch or more of snow, particularly for this system that's coming in for tonight and tomorrow and through the weekend. I want to show you now today the probability of 3 inches or more of snow for the weekend system. But notice, really not until Saturday night and Sunday morning where that risk is greatest. Through the interior, notice that's where we can line things up to legend here, about 50 to 70% chance closer you are to the coast, far southern New England, far eastern Maine. You wait until later in far northern New England for Sunday afternoon to evening, and that's when that risk is really high and likely that we see more than that with an 80 to 90% chance. And a lot of the northern, let's say half or at least a third of New England, southern New England, it's generally through the interior outside of 495 that you have that greatest risk from the Saturday night into Sunday morning system. Now, I do want to talk about the icing concern. This is something we're going to watch closely. There are some signals that there may be some warmer air aloft. So we've shown you this before, temperatures at about 6,000 feet. So a little bit of mid-level warming. The red line is the freezing line, 0 degrees Celsius, 32 Fahrenheit. And notice what happens during Saturday evening. It approaches the south coast, but doesn't really arrive there until Sunday, right around midnight. So that's why we get a little thump of snow on Saturday, pretty much as it comes in for everybody. Then that 0 degree line, 32-degree line, lifts northward Saturday night so that by Sunday morning, it's right across the Mass New Hampshire border. My only concern is, yes, it comes farther to the north, briefly into central New England by Sunday afternoon and evening, and then snaps back to the coastline as the colder air comes in. So yes, we get a little bit of a warmer layer just above our heads that comes in and will cause some of that mix. The issue is the surface temperature, which I will show you here. Same thing, right? The 0 degrees Celsius, 32-degree Fahrenheit line comes into play, lifts northward by Sunday morning, but north and west, outside of 495, there are some signals that even through Sunday afternoon and evening, notice we hang on to some of those cold temperatures for southern Vermont, far northern Berkshire County, maybe even southern New Hampshire here by Sunday evening. So a lot of central New England is hanging at or below freezing. So even though we may get a changeover to some sleet or freezing rain because of that warmer air aloft, we are below freezing or right close to that at the surface. So that may mean a period of prolonged or longer sleet and freezing rain for Saturday night into Sunday that may cause some issues depending on how much falls. So that's something we'll watch closely. 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch, maybe some locally higher totals in spots, not out of the question where we hang on to some of that cold air. Meantime, high temperatures for Thursday, 30s and 40s. Yeah, we may come close to 50. So once the rain and the mix north pushes out of here, we actually jump up during the day tomorrow as that warm front lifts north. Friday, back into the cold. Teens north, 20s to lower 30s in central and southern New England. Predicted wind chill about 10 to 15 degrees colder with the blustery wind, 35 to 45 mile per hour gusts. So I don't think it's widespread damage. There may be a couple of limbs or things that come down isolated in some of the hilltops. So the predicted wind chill, below 0 in the North Country. Friday night, actual temperatures go below 0. Single digits back in through the interior of southern New England to teens to around 20 on Cape Cod. We make a decent rebound Saturday after that chilly start, right around or just over 30 along the south coast, 20s and far central and northern New England, central New England too. And then Sunday, with the mix that comes into play, it's a similar thing where we may jump into the 40s for portions of southern New England, but stay colder through the interior around freezing, and then 20s to the north, where the most accumulation in terms of snowfall will come down, though we may get some mixing in the valleys. So it's definitely a busy stretch. The weekend will be a little bit tricky to iron out the details in the next 24 to 48 hours. You can watch all the changes, of course, on our app. It's free in the App Store and Google Play. Videos at the top, hourly 14-day forecast too, social media updates, and of course, all of our weather information always on our website, the #1degreeoutside.com.